Welcome back, WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and WNST.net. We got full-on purple fever. I don't know if you've noticed or not. The Lamar Jackson thing is sort of caught on around here. I'm rolling out in my Curio shirt. It's not really like a Lamar. It just looks like an 8. It's not really an 8. It's an O with an underscore, or I don't know what they call that in other languages. Brian Sanderoff is here from Curio Wellness and doing all sorts of things, but more than that, how many purple hats are coming in off the street these days? I mean, we did a Purple Friday out there about a month and a half ago. It wasn't even cool back then, was it, right?
No, it's, and now it certainly is, right?
Well, you know, winning cures all, right? I mean, the Orioles will tell you that. The Washington Nationals will tell you that, right? And I could get to all the woes of all that, but why do all that? Why not just feel good about beating up Tom Brady on a Sunday night, winning out in Seattle? It really does bring people together, right? Like in a way that only it can kind of bring people together.
Yeah, no question about that. I don't know. I'm sure you've seen a ton of tweets that went around. The best one I saw was the one about things made in China. Did you see that?
Oh, Tom Brady's tears?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got that one. My favorite one was the dude in the pink tutu and the pink Tom Brady jersey and the pink hair doing the Halloween getup. I mean, that was fantastic. I said next year my wife and I are going as Giselle and Tom Brady. I'm going to do that at the Ravens party. So I went to the Ravens team party. Brad Bozeman did this for his anti-bullying campaign. And, you know, 20, 25 players out there. And a friend of mine comes up. He had a red-headed, like sort of almost like a Ginger Grant type of hair thing going on, and an 81 jersey. It was a Hayden Hurst jersey. He was going on Halloween as Hayden Hurst, and then Hayden Hurst showed up. So it was kind of interesting watching someone dress as Hayden Hurst, talk to Hayden Hurst at a Halloween party. I'm thinking I'm going to do the Tom Brady thing, though. That's going to be my get-up next year. So for you guys at a Curio here and what's going on, we've done some Purple Friday. We need to put one of those together before the holidays as well. But next week you're doing a very, very interesting class. This week you did supplements to age gracefully, and some of that was cannabis-based, but I'm sure holistic all the way around. Next week we talk about massage, and I did send a dear friend of mine who was doing a boot camp over to get a massage with you last week as well. And we talk about cannabis and education. Next week, you're going full in with cooking and infusing with medical cannabis. This is full on. I know everybody. You got everybody's attention now, Bri.
Yeah, no question about it. And you know, it's all important. So with the class schedule that's coming up, you know, as you said, we've got yoga and all that sort of stuff. One of the big things.
That's my favorite 4-letter word. I told you that last week, right?
I know. One of the big things here with medicating is being able to use products orally. And there are capsules and there are some medical chews, some gummies and that kind of stuff that are available. A lot of people like to be able to cook with their cannabis. And there are some significant clinical reasons why that's a good way to go. Your body absorbs it differently. You get to sort of ramp up the effect of some of the cannabinoids that are in there, and the effect lasts much longer. But because edibles are not really allowed in the state yet, meaning you don't find cookies and brownies and chocolates and that kind of thing.
Can I ask you why that is? Because I was in Seattle, right? I mean, Denver, California, all these other places. I guess that's really sort of the slippery slope of all of this is certain places have certain things at a different time schedule. It's sort of coming online everywhere. Massachusetts, I haven't been there, but you know, all my wife's relatives are there. They were in over the weekend talking about the way the laws are there versus here. Why is that? And is there anything to be said about the next 18 or 36 months? Because let's be honest, 5 years ago I drove up York Road. You weren't there, right?
Yeah. So a couple things. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that dosage form, and it became more of a political thing. It has been approved, and so after the first of the year, some products will begin to hit the market. It was more political that, you know, with the regulations, they didn't include the food safety part of it. And when you talk about food safety in the state of Maryland, you're talking about another commission that oversees that. And, you know, whether that commission or that organization, you know, agrees with the use of medical cannabis or not, can get in the way of them moving forward with their part of those regulations. And so it has been approved, and it's just slow in coming. And my expectation is that in the first quarter, or certainly by the second quarter of next year, you'll start to see some more traditional edible products. But in the meantime...
Traditional meaning like chocolate bars and cookies and stuff like
cookies,
that?
Brownies, that kind of thing, yeah. And or more infused drinks, that kind of thing. But one of the things that I think is important is that people like to be able to do this themselves as well. And one of the issues in doing this yourself, which is much different than back in the day when maybe some people were in college and, they took an ounce of cannabis and ground it up and then put it inside a brownie mix and then made brownies, was that...
I never saw anyone do that at the University of Maryland in the 80s. Come
on. Well, your eyes must have been closed. But the point is that there's a science to, number one, making sure you're getting the proper dose, and number two, that dose is evenly distributed throughout the food that you're cooking. And that really is what this class is about. We go through techniques of how to infuse oil or butter with cannabis properly, and then it's the dosing part that really is the biggest part of this, because what can happen is somebody can make something and they can get a much higher dose than they expected or a much lower dose than they expected and not get the effect that they're looking for. So that's what that class is about. It's kind of... to me, it's a really important class.
I've never seen you offer it. You know what I mean? You do a lot of sort of 101, and obviously there's yoga all over your schedule, and various doctors that come in, and wellness fairs and different. That's on the 23rd. You're doing a CBD and a wellness fair, so I want to get that out. The calendar's wonderful. I mean, and if you're anywhere in the Timonium area, you literally just walk in, right? I mean, for any of these classes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we've done this. I think this may be the fourth time. We do it about once a quarter.
Okay.
And I was just going to say, it's not, this is a little bit of advanced medicine, and using the medicine this way is really, really powerful, potent.
And you want to know what you're doing. Let's just be honest.
You have to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. And I've seen other classes being taught where it's like topical and people walk out not getting the information that I think that they need to be able to dose properly. So that's next Wednesday. As you said, we do that Medical Cannabis 101 class. I think it's the third Wednesday of every month. Interestingly, on the 23rd, which is a Saturday, we're having a CBD and wellness fair here. And so a lot of our CBD vendors will be here. And this is over-the-counter hemp-derived CBD. And just like Curio is known to be sort of the medical experts in the use of cannabis as medicine, we are also the experts in CBD. We have our own internal lab down at our grow and process facility, and so all the CBD products that we sell over the counter, we actually test to make sure that what they're saying is accurate about what's on the label. And there are some brands that we have not carried because our testing didn't match with what
Brian, I don't think, if anyone travels and goes anywhere, in New York City being a prime example, you walk down the street and the places that are selling electronics have CBD, you know what I mean? Like, you're literally like, really? What? What is all this? Knowing what's going on, the educational part of this is the reason you and I get together. And I think for anyone using any of these products or hearing about it on television or saw Sanjay Gupta save lives 6 or 7 years ago, children in Colorado, or people like me that travel and we're driving by places in Colorado 5 years ago with green crosses up and saying, what's here and there, the educational part of it and trusting, right? Like it's really a trust issue. And I think that one of the things that really attracts me to you guys is this past week on Wednesday night, you doing how to age gracefully and really about the holistic stuff that you've been doing for a long, long time after you gave up pharmacy work, right?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And so you're right. It's about wellness, and it's about making sure that people are using things properly. You know how it is. You drive down York Road and you see gas stations that have, big banners up that say we have CBD. And the analogy I like to use or ask somebody when they tell me, I could get that wherever, is, would you buy your shrimp salad from a gas station? This is just important, and people need to understand what they're getting, what's in that product, and how to use it properly. And so this CBD fair, which is from 12 to 3 on the 23rd, is open to anybody. You do not have to be a patient. We've got our teaching space that will be set up sort of like a fair style, and so there'll be tables with a lot of our vendors for, so that you can come and talk to them about CBD, understand the product, how to use it, all that sort of stuff, and understand why coming here to get your hemp-derived CBD is probably a better choice than many other places.
We got together last week. We did not have to process a Washington Nationals World Series parade, Bri. You're old school Orioles like I am. I mean, you had your business down by the stadium back in the day and 3.6 million people. I've been talking to people about this week, and I'm going to be writing about what the Nationals' success means, not for the Orioles, but for Baltimore. You know what I mean? And you were down there when we would call them the wine and cheesers, right? All the Washington Post readers behind home plate and George Will and Larry King. And, I never bemoaned that, right? It was never going to make me a Redskins fan, right? And then the Ravens came, and there was that period that made us all whole. Man, we've gone a long way 28 years into this thing. With Camden Yards and having 23 months left on the lease, and now having to contend with something I never really considered. I mean, I think when Camden Yards was built, Bri, they never really considered there would ever be a team in D.C., let alone a better one. And where we are right now as a metropolis, as a baseball community, I have some concerns, man. I'm really worried about they're the Yankees and we're the A's.
Yeah. It's. This is the way I look at it, and I understand what you're saying. And competition is impossible to avoid. And so I've got my dispensary, and the area where we are is known as the Green Mile, because literally within a 4 or 5 mile stretch of York Road, there's 6 dispensaries. And so I could say, you know what? Those other dispensaries shouldn't be there, or there should only be 2 of them, or whatever. But the truth is that I had to find a way to distinguish myself as a business and as our dispensary by our service, by our customer service and how we take care of people. The truth is, you and I wouldn't be having this conversation if the ownership was able to maintain a higher quality product on the field.
Well, I am of the mindset, Brian, that the Washington Nationals never would have existed had Bill DeWitt owned the team. You know what I mean? Like, had the Orioles really been well run through the 90s as they should have been, if they would have been the Red Sox as they should have been, they would have been the regional team. They would have been the New England, version of this region, draw a one really, really healthy franchise. And instead, it's been an ish show. I don't know what else to say. And now here we are with the worst possible outcome for the city. Like, literally, the worst possible outcome is the Washington Nationals are good champions, play in a great neighborhood, play in a stadium people want to get to, off a subway, off a freeway. They weren't cool 40 years ago. They are now, in the same way that saying, like, hockey wouldn't work in Nashville, right? Or, but these things, like anything, like your plants need to be watered, right? They need sunshine, and they need care, and they need to be pruned. I mean, you offer a product, and you offer the service that goes with that product, and the Washington Nationals are serving up, better things right now than the Orioles, and it worries me for Baltimore. It worries me for the future of the franchise.
Yeah, because unfortunately, it seems like there's a time limit on tolerance for that, from both sides, and so that's difficult, and it's so many things to try to fix there, and it's a tough position to be in, and for those of us that at least at one point used to bleed orange as well as purple, it's a difficult thing to watch, right?
Brian Sanderoff from Curio Wellness. They're doing all sorts of great stuff out there. Go to their calendar and learn more. Cooking and infusing with medical cannabis on Wednesday night. The Curio CBD and Wellness Fair on the 23rd as well. And I'm wearing the purple shirt. I got to get a new shirt, dude. It's a new season. I keep telling you about that. At some point, I'll get a new shirt. I promise. Brian, take care, man. I know you do. I know you do. You also have yoga on Monday and Thursdays, too. So I will bring a mat. How about that?
Thanks, Mess. I appreciate it.
You got it. See, the yoga they're doing out there, it says gentle yoga. There's nothing gentle about my yoga. Well, I shouldn't say that. It is gentle. It's just hot. I'm a hot yoga guy. You got to sweat it out a little bit. Build that strength. Build that fire within. Working on being a yoga instructor at some point, like Russell Simmons. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. You can also find me out on the interweb, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, everywhere we serve. Baltimore Positive. Wes Moore joining us on Friday night at State Fair. We got Maggie McIntosh on Thursday at Fadley's. Next Thursday, Thuru Vignaraja joining us, talking about running for mayor of Baltimore. Lots of good stuff, including Mark Weller this week, Lena Wen, talking about all sorts of health-related stuff, as well as Planned Parenthood. We're mixing it up around here, but we got Lamar fever. I got purple fever as well. I'm headed to Cincinnati this week. Luke's out in Owings Mills on the backfield for everything happening with the Ravens. And, of course, if you're on a WNST tech service, you get the breaking news first. It's all brought to you by our friends at Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. Dennis Colazzos now hosting the Dennis Colazzos Show, aptly titled, on Thursdays from 3 until 5 here, as well as on Sunday mornings. All that stuff up on the website. I'm going to be writing about this Baltimore-Washington baseball thing next week. I think I'm going to be writing about it in Cincinnati at the Over the Rhine beer drinking neighborhood. Maybe I'll have me a Guinness at Over the Rhine in Cincinnati. Some thoughts about Sparky Anderson and Earl Weaver. Man, if I get hammered in Cincinnati on Saturday night alone and, go making selfie videos about old baseball stories, waxing about Brooksy and the human vacuum cleaner and Lee May and Bobby Tolan and Brooksy, Boog, fake grass in Cincinnati, Riverfront Stadium, the Great American Ballpark, indigestion. Cincinnati, football. They don't win a lot there. They better not win this week. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 at WNST Towson, Baltimore. And we never stop talking Baltimore sports.